So ever since I started playing again about a year ago after a long hiatus, uh, I've been getting better and better at more complex finger positions and dexterity. But recently, I decided to do an experiment and see what I could come up with by doing the most minimal um, finger positions as possible and to play with as many open strings as possible. And I immediately came up with something that was, for its simplicity, was amazing. And as soon as I did that, my intuitive understanding of the guitar instantly went to another level, and I'll explain why in a second. But first, I'll show what I came up with when I decided to do that, and then I'll try to show, if I can remember, some other stuff I came up with. So in this song, um, uh, I basically only ever have one finger on a string at a time, or if I have two, I only need one actually, and most of the strings are open. So this is what I came up with. Oops. So here's why this style of playing gives a better intuitive understanding of how the guitar works than what is traditionally taught from the beginning. So one of the great things about guitar is it sounds really, you can make something that sounds really nice really really quickly. You just learn, an A chord and a G chord, and then you can you can use three chords to play a lot of songs and come up with your own combination of those chords. Here's why that gets in the way of understanding how the guitar works, because the basic premise is that what you start with is modifying the strings and coming up with unique combinations. And that what that does is it keeps you from understanding the relationship of the strings with each other. So it's great for coming up with good sounding songs at the beginning, but I believe that it's good to have those, but it probably, so you'll be motivated to keep learning because you can come up with good stuff. But it's better that the basis of your playing is on open strings, and then from there, then you add small modifications, right? Instead of starting with the strings already modified, so the relationship between the strings, it's a really beautiful relationship these strings have with each other, but it's a completely different relationship than this chord is. And then you switch to another chord. So, not saying that style is bad or wrong, or that you can't grasp an intuitive understanding of guitar. All I know is that for me personally, just experimenting with playing open notes took my understanding to another level, just immediately. And from there, I've been able to go back and heavily modify strings. So you don't stay there at only playing open strings as the basis. It's just that you want to do that also, as well as more heavily modified songs. And it used to be that my increasing in guitar abilities just meant learning new combinations of chords for songs that other people created. With a more intuitive grasp of the relationship, the mathematical structure of each string in relationship with each other, has made me better at creating my own music. And the cool thing about this method, and I call it string theory, somebody suggested that to me, so I like it, is that because there's so little to do up here, it's very easy. It's very simple for a beginner to learn because there's not as much fancy stuff and there's less dexterity required. So that's just like straight up, pretty much just moving up and down. So another great thing about this method is that because you aren't having to think so much about moving your fingers around and kind of hurting your fingers trying to reach for these different strings, and that can be hard, and even if you have calluses, if you've been playing for a while, your fingers can still end up hurting. The great thing about this style is that because you don't have to think as much about this, all the complexity that you hear is from plucking in the and you can focus on the plucking patterns, and that is a lot easier than the complexity coming from your finger positions up here. And it's a lot simpler because it's also very much more linear. So you're just jumping around the different strings, and you kind of... when I plucked, it was just sort of a random mix. I would just pluck randomly, but with this, you get a lot more of a structure to the that complexity. So I'll share the other stuff that I've come up with at another time. That's all I got to say for now. So I'm out of time. I have to leave.